This episode of the Fire Alarm Insider is proudly brought to you by Secured Securities, your trusted partner in fire alarm and security solutions, protecting lives and businesses one system at a time. Let me start this episode with something that might make a few people uncomfortable. If you're an entry-level technician and you're not making the money you want yet, chances are it's not the industry that's underpaying you. It's because you haven't built the skills that create the value. And today, we're going to talk about those skills. Not the one that look good on paper and not the ones you think you should get paid more for, but the ones in the real world that actually moves your paycheck. This is the Fire Alarm Inside, and I'm your host, Anthony Richardson. I've spent decades in the industry. I've been in the field. I've trained techs. I've built securities from the ground up. I've hired, promoted techs, and yes, I've watched others stay stuck in the same position for years. So this isn't theory. This is straight talk. If you're new to the fire alarm industry and you want to get paid more, then this episode is for you. This is the biggest lie entry-level technicians believe. I see young technicians believe if I get more experience, then the money will come. No, my man, that's not actually true. Time does not equate to increase your value. I've seen technicians with 10 years of experience in the field and they still getting paid like they just started in this industry. Why? Because experience without skill application doesn't move the needle. Companies don't pay you more because you've been around longer. They pay you more because you solve bigger problems with less supervision. So let's break this skill down that make things happen. This episode of the Fire Alarm Insider is sponsored by the Fire Alarm Business Blueprint. If you're a seasoned technician looking to start your own fire alarm business, we have a 9-step course for you to take you from starting your business to getting your fire alarm license, marketing, and also getting money into your business. If this sounds like you, the link is in the show notes. Let's get back to the program. The first skill you're going to need is your professional communication with the client. This is the number one skill that separates average technicians from higher paid techs. And here's the hard truth. Most entry-level technicians are terrible communicators. They don't know how to talk to other techs and also not to the customers. But let me be clear. I'm not talking about sales. I'm talking about the professional, confident, clear communication type individual. When you're walking in a building, the customer doesn't care how good you are with the tools. They only care whether they can trust you. Can you explain what are you doing there? What have you found, what the actual issue is, and what the next step should be? And can you do it without shrugging your shoulders, using slang, talking all crazy, or making weird facial expressions? At Secured, I've promoted techs faster based on communication than their wiring skills, because a tech who can speak clearly to the client can protect the company. They can build trust, and it reduces the callbacks. These technicians make company money. And the people who could generate the income for the company will always get paid more. Skill number 2, this is your code knowledge. And the most important is code application. Now let's talk about the code. A lot of entry-level techs say, oh, I know NFPA 72. I passed the test. I read the book. I even got a couple books in my crib. Good. My man, that's the bare minimum. Here's what that actually means. Can you apply the code in the field? Can you look at an installation and say, this doesn't meet code and here's why? This is compliant, but it creates a long-term problem. This technically passed, but here's a better way. If you can't interpret the system in that type of way, then you're still in a phase where you need to learn a little bit more and you may have to humble yourself. And actually knowing the code is not about memorization, not to be the smartest guy in the room. It's about understanding the intent behind the code. Why do the codes exist? What problems are the codes trying to prevent, and how does this apply in real buildings, not just the classroom? While building securities, I don't need technicians who could quote sections. I need techs who could defend decisions in front of the inspectors, in front of the clients, or in front of the electricians. If you can't explain why something is required, you're not a value asset yet. Higher paid technicians can understand the code well enough to stand their ground professionally. Skill number 3 is the ownership mentality. Stop waiting to be told to do something. This is like tough love. Entry-level technicians who stay underpaid often have the same habit. They wait to be told what to do, they wait for instruction, they wait for permission, and they wait for someone else to notice them. That mindset would only cap your income. Ownership means you check on your work before someone else does. You ask questions before mistakes happen. You clean up the job without being told. You think 1, 2, 3, and 4 steps ahead of the task you're actually assigned. When I see a technician that can take ownership, I don't see a helper anymore. I see someone I could put my trust in. And trust equals responsibility. Responsibilities equals to more pay. Skill number 4. You must understand that leadership starts actually before you get the title. Here's something that entry-level techs don't always realize. Leadership is not a promotion. It is a behavior. It's something that you acquire over time. If you think that leadership starts when someone gives you a title, you're already behind. Leaderships look something like this: helping a new tech without being asked, keeping a job moving when things get slow, speaking up when something doesn't look right, and representing the company well when no supervisor is around. At Securit, the tech who moved up is not the loudest tech. It's the tech that's more reliable. The tech that come and just make the crew better just by being there. The tech that brings the leadership, because the tech that can bring the leadership will show that that leadership deserves a higher wage. Skill number 5, documentation that actually protects the company. This is the one that's most overlooked skill in the whole entire industry. Reports, notes, and documentation. Most entry-level techs run straight through this. They see it as paperwork, but documentation is legal protection against you and the customer, especially when there's something that's negligent on a building or a service system that you're actually working on. So good documentation will definitely protect the company. It also protects the customer, and it protects you as a technician. If something goes wrong later, the paperwork would actually tell that story. So it's very important for you to write clear sentences on your service report, clear identifying sentences with a little bit more description if you have to, so that way we can understand what you're writing, the customer can understand clear what you're writing, they have a clear signature, and we could actually battle this if we need to, because this actually will reduce the liability. And reducing liability is extremely valuable in the fire alarm industry. So why do some techs advance and others don't? So let me say it plainly. The tech who earns more money is not always the smartest technician. They're not always the fastest technician, and they're not always the most experienced technician. They're just the most useful technician. They communicate well, they use the code in this context, they take ownership, and they show leadership early on in their career. They also protect the company with documentation and also any type of clear communication or any discrepancy they may have when they're out in the field versus being in the office. And that's the big difference. I built secure security, surrounding myself with people who add value and not just hours or even clocking hours just to get a paycheck. So your next steps is very serious only if you're serious about taking those next steps. So if you're listening and thinking, I want more, but I don't know how to build these skills, that's exactly why I've built a training center. This is no theory, no fluff, just real world training based on real jobs, real inspections, and real expectations. So if you want to increase your value, you need to increase your capability, and that just don't happen by accident. So if you're a technician on any level and you're serious about getting paid more or even starting your own fire alarm business, visit the Fire Alarm Business Blueprint. Invest in the skills that get you paid more and not just keep you busy. This episode of the Fire Alarm Insider is brought to you by Securit Security. Securit Securities presents you the perfect fire alarm install, from inception all the way down to installation to the one-time pass inspection with the fire department. If you're looking for the perfect install, click the link in the show notes to talk more. So if this episode had helped you, I want you to share this with another technician who needs to hear the actual truth on how to get money in the fire alarm industry. And remember, you don't get paid more for how long you've been here. You get paid more for how valuable you are. I'm the fire alarm expert, and this has been a Fire Alarm Insider. Stay sharp, stay compliant, and never stop raising the standards. Fire Alarm Expert out. Peace.